So, Paul, over the last couple of months, we've done quite a bit of SAA bashing.
We have, eh? But they've given us every excuse. I mean, no shortage of content from that bunch of Muppets.
And they did a bit of bashing of their own this last week.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
Apparently someone was asleep at the wheel.
Apparently.
Oh. So,
yeah.
Are we going to talk about that?
I think so.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I read that they were busy being towed, and the tow bar apparently broke, and the aircraft veered off the alleged tow path, and then the wing dinged the tail of a SAF Air 737.
It's not like SAF Air don't need that aircraft or anything.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how that must have just pissed them off, because it was a total disruption to their operations for that day. And yes, it did a significant amount.
For the next couple of months.
Yeah, that thing's going to take a long time to repair.
Yeah.
Hey?
Mm.
What? It must have hit it pretty hard for the amount of damage that was done. Did you see all the parts lying on the apron?
Yeah, I know, it was a mess.
So I'm of the opinion that guy must have been towing that airplane at a bit of a speed. Huh?
Yeah, possibly. But isn't there supposed to be someone in the seat there?
Well, yes. The rules do say that there should be a fully qualified person at the controls in the event of something like that happening that can apply the brakes.
And that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, so one wonders why.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can joke about it and that, and the reality is, SAA finding it hard to make friends these days. I think the public at large is looking for answers now as well. There's been obviously Gidon Novick, we'll talk about him shortly, and what is happening? It almost like, was this deal just done, how long, going back, I don't know, I can't even remember how long ago it was. Was the deal done simply just to appease the public so that leave SAA alone, we are sorting it out, we're selling a 51% stake private share now, so let us get on with business? Was that like a bit of a front to, of course, we're never going to sell this bloody thing? Because that's what it looks like. Nothing's happening. I mean, Gidon Novick has stepped down as a director because of the lack of transparency. That's the lack of transparency as a director. What about the lack of transparency to the South African public?
Exactly.
If he thinks he's got a lack of transparency, what about you and I?
Yeah.
And everyone else that deserves to know what's going on? So, yeah, I mean, SAA, yeah, look, let's call it as it is. We've actually received a bit of criticism, or I certainly have, on a couple of messages to say, hey, guys, you're being a bit harsh on SAA. First of all, I don't think we've ever been harsh on SAA. We've only commented on actual news articles, not based on opinion. You know, that's actually what happened. If you want to take it as a negative, well, then unfortunately, that's how you have to see it. But we've never actually gone in on the attack on SAA. It's simply a case of reading the articles as they are. And man, they're not doing themselves any favors. One feels for the people working there as well a bit, because surely they want some bit of security as to what's going to happen going forward. They're also in the same position. I mean, surely they would like this private stake to come in, gives them a bit of job security. It means that their routes are going to expand. They're going to get more aircraft. They're going to start going to more places. Because right now, that airline is a little bit like SAX was with us, bombing along to these, regionals and smaller airports is not what SAA used to do. It was our long-haul flagship carrier.
Yeah.
They still call it that in these articles when the spokesman is talking and that it's not. I mean, just don't call it that, because it isn't. And I think they'd make more friends if we kind of just owned up to the fact that is a shadow of its former self, and it needs this equity partner to come in and actually make it happen. But from what it looks like, that's just smoke and mirrors.
No, I totally agree. I mean, one thing we've done really well throughout the show,
if we may say so ourselves,
we absolutely will, is that I think, we call a spade. And, like you said, we're pointing out the facts. And the one thing that SAA have done all along for so many years is create this smoke screen of bullshit that they're trying to hide behind. And it wouldn't surprise me, like you said, your theory of, well, was it just a front? Absolutely. I mean, the lack of transparency, because there are ulterior motives. If someone can't get it right in the higher levels of government to get their fingers into this pie that they can extract funds out of it, then it's not gonna work to get a partner in.
Yeah.
So look, my opinion, I've never been a fan.
Right.
And I'm certainly not going to change my opinion now. And I think they should just give it up and leave it to the professionals that are in the industry to expand and grow and, stop trying to buy up routes and take up space that you don't really belong in.
Mm-hmm.
Enough said,
yeah. There's a lot to be proud of in South African aviation. There really is. I mean, what SAFAir has managed to do, what Link has managed to do, has been quite remarkable. I mean, Lyft, there's articles now this week, starting that Cape Town, Durban, all sorts. There's a hell of a lot going on. And you look at it and say, this is actually a stronger industry today as to what it was 5 years ago.
Oh, by a long shot, man.
And you still got this sort of lingering SAA story. And yeah, look, it still maintain it would be nice to have a powerful SAA that gives us an option to fly overseas on your flag carrier. But if that's going to happen, it has to be a properly run company.
Yeah.
There are very good people working there. There's no doubt about it. And this is often what sort of irks me a little bit when we get a slightly negative review, not review, I suppose, but an email saying, come on, guys, there's good people working there. It's not about the good people working there.
It's about the organization and the deep-rooted rot from the top.
For sure. There's very good people in Russia at the moment, as well. It's not, you've got to call it the way it is sometimes.
Exactly.
It's the company at the top. Pravin Gordon's name comes up all the time.
Oh, jeez.
So you're not even going to start on that.
Don't even get
because
me started.
He burnt us badly, and now obviously this is... So anyway, a lot going on, not enough transparency, not enough honesty. Don't even know, the director of the company doesn't even know if they've managed to raise the funds or have intent to raise the funds. And I just find it alarming where the whole country is asking for a bit of transparency on this deal. But the one director who we all sort of trust, he was the reason that there was a popular choice was because he's got the experience, old Novick, he's got the name, he's got the pedigree with Kalula, and the public at large was, okay, good, that's a good step in the right direction. But then it just gets thrown down the toilet again, because now they come and they say, oh, yeah, it's good that he's gone because there's a conflict of interest between himself and Lyft and the information part. I mean, nothing's changed since it started. He was involved with Lyft at the beginning.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed. It's not like he did this on the side. So it's just such bullshit, and obviously it...
it's the usual riffraff, man. I mean, it's always like, we've got plans to buy more aircraft and we're going to, expand our routes. We're going regional. They're all excited about starting a route to Vic Falls very soon.
Yes.
I mean, as if that's even a thing. I mean, Link are servicing Vic Falls, SAFAir are, Semi, all those guys. Like, what are you trying to prove?
Yeah, well, they're adding on Mauritius and Harare as well. More frequencies. And look, like I say, it's the people there. We know some very good people there.
Used to,
yeah, there were a lot of good people there. But even today, there's some good people flying there. There was some positive news the other day that they had. Look, it's hard to, you got to see the wood from the trees a little bit on this one and realize, like, come on, Oaks, this is just out of control now. And that article we spoke about last week, I think that MoneyWeb article where that guy just lambasted them for being stuck in a past era. It's almost like stuck in that era in terms of branding and their branding, but also stuck in that era about the way they treat the public or how clever they think the public are. I think these days there's so much information bouncing around. We've based a podcast on it. We base a podcast on the fact that there is so much information, and we actually have to pick and choose what information we speak about every week. We have to throw certain stuff away. Let's concentrate in this direction. So if we've got access to that information, Everyone's got access to the information. And to still think we're so stupid that you can't actually stand up and be honest and say, this is the plan. We can't raise the funds. We can't raise the funds because no one wants to invest in this dinosaur.
Yeah.
But if they came out and said, what we're going to do about it is we're going to adjust the branding, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, originally when the whole thing started and Novick's inclusion, for me, it was like, surely they're going to try and use the lift connection there as either the domestic arm of South African Airways, which obviously was never the case. Maybe it was, and now they've backtracked on it.
Yeah.
I mean, same aircraft, it would be pretty easy, and it would be very easy. You know, the Lyft brand hadn't been around a long time, so it would have been very easy just to shift that off into another direction and have the Lyft brand doing the SA domestic. Look,
yeah.
But anyway.
Look, the way I see it, there's only one way to untarnish that brand, and it's to remove the government involved element of it. If they'd said, listen, we're privatizing, we're going to run this thing like a properly like a proper enterprise, these are our plans and everything, get rid of the crooks at the top, then it's like, okay, cool. That would probably restore a bit of faith in the general public.
But that's exactly what they said they were going to do, Ryan. That's what they said, so you would be, okay, cool, they're doing something about it.
No, but then it's in total, not 51%. They must have no involvement. Yeah. Bugger all. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
No.
But so anyway, I do see it from a slightly different angle. I do feel for the people that are working there at the moment as well, because I know that they would prefer to have, a bit of a scope for the future as to what's going to happen. So it's certainly not the people working there, but man, the people that are pulling the strings, whether it's at government level or what, I just wish they would give that up now and let people carry on. And I do still feel we have a right, you and myself in particular, Ryan, as two employees of an ex-airline, the one where no one, not one single employee, got paid a cent after being liquidated.
Yeah.
To this day, there's still no clarity on it. No clarity on it. We got a message, you and I, from our union rep the other day to say, well, sorry, what's happening?
News.
No news, nothing's happening.
Nothing's changed.
So, do feel we have a bit of a right to have a dig there, and of course that's why we do it, because
I got a bit of story for you on that one. I mean, I know of two guys that had to position back from Joburg down to Cape Town the other day, and they were looking at booking tickets, and it was evening flights that they needed, and the one guy managed to secure himself a SAFair ticket, and the other chap just couldn't get a ticket on SAFair, Lyft, Semi, none, Airlink. All the flights were fully booked. Eventually, no, his last resort was an SAA ticket. He's like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, I suppose the message is you guys are the last resort.
Yeah, very much so. But look, let's keep an open mind on this one, and we'll keep monitoring it. But understand the frustration where it comes from. Anyway, like we said, a lot to be positive about in South African aviation at the moment, and long may that continue. As we said, Lyft doing good things. You can now take your dogs as well, I believe, from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a funny joke with that one, but the woke era, I think I'll leave it out.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
it's not like you two to skip on.
No. The one thing that, even reading that article with Lyft, slightly different thing with them. They're not a low cost, eh?
No.
They got a premium service there as well. So it is a different type of clientele that they could be aiming at.
It's a funny thing because the way they, their branding and like their cabin crew, the way they, dress and present themselves, it's almost like a low cost appearance, but it's not.
Yes.
And that's where I suppose a lot of people got the misconception that initially they were low cost.
Yeah, well, any new startup airline these days, most of them are low cost, so it's almost like you just took it for that. But still haven't flown with them. Definitely going to give them a go sometime soon. But anyway, those return flights start on the 25th of November, so pretty much next week. 2 return flights a day. Another option on a very reduced amount of available seats, particularly now that there's another 800 being repaired Just found that astonishing.
Yeah.
Love to know how the insurance details worked up on that one.
It reminds me of, I was going to say, one of those Leon Schuster movies, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain this one now.
Yeah.
You know, how did the wing of the A320 bash the tail of the 737?
Yeah. Draw a picture.
Yeah, lots of spaces of silence.
Yeah. Lots of ums and ahs on that one.
Yeah.
Some British Airways news, they're bumping up their Cape Town capacity. So Cape Town again.
Yep.
The new hub, A350, 1000 and 777-200 aircraft they're going to use. So a good option there if you want to go to the UK, Cape Town. And I know of people now from Joburg that are flying to Cape Town and they're catching flights overseas from there.
You joking? Really? Why is that? Is that because the ticket prices are cheaper? Or?
Yeah, I believe that there might be it might be a bit of that in them trying to get the promotion going for those routes. It could be they were cheaper in this case, but what this mate of mine did with his family, they flew down to Cape Town the night before. They spent a night in Cape Town, went to the waterfront, went to the aquarium, and then got on the international aircraft the next day to fly down. It is an option and a viable one if you want to avoid Joburg, which is looking a little bit run down if you ask me.
It is. It certainly is. And while we're on the topic of options, there is another option available.
Yeah.
For the people living in the Lowveld. You can now get to Frankfurt from your back door, basically. Eurowings started their service this weekend to Kruger and Mpumalanga International Airports, offering 3 times weekly flights to Germany between Kruger.
That'll be a hit, eh?
Yeah, and it's not direct, unfortunately. They're routing Frankfurt Windhoek.
Yeah.
Windhoek over to
But that's
Kruger.
okay.
It's fine. I mean, Kruger to Windhoek is a 2-hour stint, and then from there it's another, I suppose 8-9 hours to Frankfurt. But
it's all about options, man.
So options, like if you stuck it, you can't get from Joburg to Germany. It's a 3-hour drive down to Nelspruit, Kruger, and then you hook on that flight. So, yeah, I was quite stoked to see that because, I mean, obviously it does a lot for tourism into the Lowveld and the
Very
Kruger
good.
net. But, yeah.
That's going to be popular, I'm sure.
100%.
That's definitely going to be popular. Yeah, the more options, the better. No doubt about that. You weren't on a webinar last night with SARS, were you? They were... Actually, no, I lie. It's tonight as we record. So unfortunately, when this comes out, it will be too late. So
thank goodness.
If you want though, Ryan, at 5:00 this evening, got a bit of time on Zoom and YouTube. They are shedding light on the traveller declaration system. Yeah.
Well, look, that would be good news to pick up for the podcast. But I'm trying to stay out of SARS's radar, so
yeah,
I'll avoid that one.
I do all. Yeah, so that's what's happening there. Otherwise, locally, Ryan, you heard anything else?
No, locally, other than that, it's been quiet. Pretty much SAA taking up the big chunk of the news this week with all their shenanigans.
Yeah.
The the Eurowings was big news for us. And no, the rest of it was pretty much some African and worldwide news that took up the space. So.
Yeah, some a disturbing video that you obviously saw last weekend with that
crash
at the air show.
Man,
that was
horrendous.
That was horrendous.
It was like watching a movie. You know, it was like, is this for real?
Yeah, and you watch it and you think, but how the hell does this happen? So if you've been living under a rock for a week, obviously a Flying Fortress, a B-17, and a Bell P-63 King Cobra collided at the Wings Over Dallas air show on last Saturday. It was terrible, man.
Yeah.
It was terrible. A lot of people commenting at the time that it was deliberate, and there's been lots of videos, but it's so easy, I think, for the pilots out there that kind of realize it, but for the public at large, you look at that and say, but that guy just flew into the aircraft. It's not that easy to see.
No.
So
look, I mean,
you can't make assumptions like that.
Some of the theories going around was that he was obviously, it would have been very difficult for him to see the pilot of the P-63 because he was concentrating on the formation of a P-51 that was next to him or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? You'll never be able to vouch for
no
what
black
happened.
boxes in that aircraft. There's no... So...
It certainly wouldn't have been intentional.
No.
And, no shame. It was
very sad.
Tragic. And, I mean, it's such a beautiful airplane to Both. Beautiful airplanes to lose, man.
Yeah. No, that was a shocker, that one.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Some Emirates news. Every week there's Emirates news, and that's always got to do with them growing. 18 aircraft of the Emirates airline fleet will be dedicated to cargo in 2024. So cargo expanding quite rapidly. And obviously 777F freighters. They currently got 11 of them, so obviously this is an expansion on their whole cargo side, bearing in mind that they can still use available belly cargo space in their passenger carrying aircraft.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big cargo airline now if you look at it, the size of it, and it obviously will continue to expand. And as cargo becomes even bigger, which it is, we reported on that a couple of weeks ago, opens up the opportunity. There'll be more job opportunities because they need drivers to fly those things. And Lord only knows that we need some career airlines available to young sappers.
Oh, absolutely. And on that subject, I mean, one of our good mates posted a really cool video from his villa in Dubai this afternoon of the 380 flying past.
Yeah.
With the red arrows or some formation team.
Yeah.
Yes, that must have been quite something to see in real life.
Yeah, looked awesome.
Yeah.
So shout out to all our mates there at Emirates that seem to be back there and happy and living the dream.
We like saying that.
Depending on what the dream is, but certainly, most of the guys happy to be back in the job and
it's awesome.
Enjoying the life back on the 380s. Speaking of 380s, Thai, you see they're bringing some of their 380s back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, 380s are...
Can't get rid of them, man.
No, dime a dozen at the moment. I mean, I can't believe at one stage we thought we would never see one flying again.
Yeah.
And
there was actually we actually did a show about it. I think it was like number 30 or something where it was like about the 380 and almost the news articles, because I've kept all the show notes, all my prep for every single episode I've got. And a lot of it written there. I actually had a look after seeing that. And it was almost, those articles back then were written in such a way like it's over. You won't see those 380s again.
Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
And now airlines trying to get these things back into service at a hell of a cost. That you remember, it's not just the aircraft. You got to get the crew up and trained, ready again. And there's a hell of a lot involved, meaning that there's no other choice. They need the capacity back.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. I mean, especially, talking about the crew, because, we've kind of like been dancing around how much are we going to speak about this. And I'm talking about, pilot jobs and the availability of pilot jobs worldwide right now. It's kind of gone whack. Very quickly.
It's gone crazy.
Hey? Would you agree? I mean, there's a website, I'm sure you've seen it, Flight Jobs. We'll leave it in the show notes. But I mean, it is insane how many jobs are actually available. And, a lot of non-type rated stuff coming up now. So you get the impression that a lot of airlines, I think you mentioned something like this the other day, are running out of CVs.
Yeah.
And they're looking for non-type rated. I still don't. One ex still said, like, it's almost as if some airlines will take you if you can draw a picture of an airplane.
Yeah. If you know what a plane is, you got a job. The sign-on bonuses and that overseas are just out of this world. And then there's a lot of like, but there's still, I find this quite interesting to watch because there's still two sides to the fence on this whole thing. A lot about what we spoke about in 2020 was the pilots with the airline industry. They had the right to do what they did by furloughing and they had to keep themselves going, so they had to get rid of the expenses. And pilots at that stage were, and you know this, Ryan, because you and I were in the same boat. You were almost embarrassed to say if you went out to a dinner party. Not that there were many dinner parties in 2020. But if you went out and you meet some new people and they said, what do you do? I'm an airline pilot. It was like, gee, sorry for you,
Sure.
And there was almost like no end in sight. And the kind of idea was that aviation was the first to get hit and it will be the last to return. But I think there was truth in that. However, the return has been like a once-off powerful return. It hasn't been how a lot of other industries returned. A lot of other industries returned as different industries. There's still no substitute for the pilot in the seat flying passengers from A to B.
No.
There's no Zoom that can sort it out. There's no drones that can do it. And look, I've been keen for a long time to talk about the whole the UAV side of things, and there's lots of articles. That is still yonks away. Really, the performance of those things is just not there. There's noise issues, there's engine issues. So pilots for the inevitable future are going to be few and far between. And if you're holding a little license, even if it is one that's attached to a green Mamba, you've got something valuable. You've got to keep that license current. You've got to make sure that it's usable, because there are opportunities. Road shows coming to South Africa. We know of a couple of them from UAE coming shortly, Canada, all over the place. Certainly, if you're still looking for an opportunity.
No, there are opportunities available, 100%. I mean, I'm going to put my balls on the line a bit here, but I mean, if you don't have a job right now as a pilot, it's probably because you're not looking hard enough to get that particular flying job, or you don't necessarily want to get back into the flight deck right now, because there are certainly flying jobs available.
Yeah.
I do laugh though. I mean, obviously the salaries and the lifestyle are not quite what they used to be, and they never will be, especially for like guys like us that were at SACS. However, it will improve. And you talk about those sign-on bonuses. I mean, Piedmont in the States offering up to $100,000.
And that's like that's a regional. That's an SA Express type of vibe there.
Shit.
No, it's crazy. But you say that, Ryan. You say like, lifestyle-wise, we won't go back to what it was. Lifestyle-wise, it got a bit shitty at one point there for pilots. And maybe even in South Africa right now, one could argue that maybe lifestyle-wise is a bit shitty.
Yeah, like
I don't think it's amazing. You talk to the guys, and they're all working hard. They're all flying 100 hours a month. And look, that's what you signed up to do. You know, it always rings true when you go and sign on. You're signing up to you fly your full roster period or your full duty period, and that's that. Even if there's a change, you must fly your full duty period, and that's what's happening. Fine. But it is going to come a point when the airlines are going to have to protect their assets, and maybe they'll start looking at the pilot group as a little bit more of an asset. If you look at an airline and they've got a certain amount of pilots, and with those certain amount of pilots, they can only operate to a certain amount of destinations. You start taking them away, you can, particularly if you're flying to your maximum, that becomes your limit. It's not the aircraft anymore that's the limit. It's the pilots that are the limit.
Yeah.
And so how much are you going to pay?
Exactly.
And I think the overseas airlines, they've cottoned on to that a bit quicker. I mean, in the States, it's a different story. They can't operate without the pilots, so they're paying.
Yeah. No, well, they have to. I mean, and look, I think the unions there are also certainly winning the fight on fighting for better roster rules and lifestyle arrangements, because that's a biggie for me, man. That's one of the biggest reasons why I wouldn't be running back, is because lifestyle. I want to spend time with my kids and you know that kind of thing. But yeah, that's said and done. The airlines are going to have to do something along the lines to make it better and make it more attractive and get your crew to stay. I mean, I think they're also going to have to realize at some point the amount of money that's being wasted on continuously training new crew and losing experience. It's going to catch up.
I just worry about if we base the show around South African aviation, and we're passionate about African aviation. We need it. What happens when the jobs overseas become so lucrative and so obvious that the real good guys that are here doing a really good job flying for the Safair and the Lynx, they go?
Yeah.
It's going to have such a negative impact on the whole industry here as a whole. So you really hope that we can sort things out here. But look, in saying that, chatting to some guys from Safair the other day, they are flying hard and that, but they're not going anywhere. They're like, this is the place to be right now. So they're happy. And a lot of guys at Link, they are happy. A lot of ex-Comair guys that are at Link that are very happy to have that job, and they've settled in. They love it. And so it's no negative. It's just that particularly the youngsters might be looking at it and saying, look, if you're going to go, now's the time to go. And on top of that, instead of taking 10, 15 years to pay off all the money you spent to get your pilot license, you can pay it off with a sign-on bonus on day one.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Look, I think the biggest attraction to most youngsters right now is the availability of jobs out there where they can leave South Africa and go and get onto heavy metal quite quickly.
Yes.
Because there's none of those long-haul opportunities here. I mean, you want to fly 330, 777, whatever, you got to go overseas. So that's where we're going to fall short here in SA. And look, there are us diehard oaks. We are always I'm going to always value a boerewors roll and a braai and a beer with my mates on South African soil versus trying to do that.
You make a good point, because a lot of the guys that you might think would want to go, when you speak to them, it's like, no, this is the place to be. And even if you are flying 100 hours a month,
still home.
It's still home. You know, if you're flying 100 hours a month and you're bombing around in an E190 or an NG, yeah, there's worse jobs around. Hey, I mean, there really are. So South Africa still a cool place to be.
Still a place to be, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you put your bid in for that Illusion 76?
Oh, the one that's been standing as a museum piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it would make a nice jungle gym for my kids.
Yeah, I had to laugh at whoever wrote this sales pitch. It needs a bit of needs a bit of work on the sales technique. Illusion 76 abandoned in Turkey 11 years ago, going to be auctioned. Bid starting at 400,000 Turkish lira. It's 21,500 US. Aircraft in question used for cargo, carries 40 years old, being built in 1984, hasn't flown for the last quarter of its lifespan. It's been stuck because it had an accident on landing on the 30th of October 2011. Landed in Turkey. After landing, it crashed into the wing of another Illusion 76. Must have been Spurry's technical guy there. And while it was being towed after unloading its cargo, the affected area was the cockpit. So the aircraft was immediately rendered unusable and was towed to a remote stand at the airport, where it has been parked ever since. The plane was to conduct a whole set of repairs. That never happened. So now they're auctioning it off.
Wouldn't surprise me if SAA haven't put in a bid for that. Because then, obviously you have the hangar rash that matches the rest of their fleet.
Yeah, but not a very good advertisement there for it's like buying a second-hand car from an oak you know is dodgy. It's not going to work so like that. Supply chain issues are still part of the whole thing. With the it's infecting Embraer a lot.
Not only Embraer, man. The Airbus A220.
Big time. Yeah.
Engine issues on the A220.
Issues. But this is the issue now with the Embraer too. It's the engines on there.
Yeah.
What are they? The Pratt and Whitney geared engines. PW1900G, I think they are.
That's right. That's on the Embraer, the E2s. That's affecting them. And then on the A220s, you've got the Pratt and Whitney, the 1500, the G1500 engines, 1500G engines. And then
on the 320, it's the PW1100Gs. On the Neos. We are on fire today.
Jana, you have no idea.
Yeah, so the Pratt and Whitneys are obviously they're made in much higher frequency on the 320 Neo type of spec, but obviously much lower frequency on the 220s and E2s. So it's affecting.
No, but it's a problem because it's obviously a thread across the whole range of Pratt and Whitney engines. But like Air Tanzania, for instance, it's affecting their whole fleet. Okay, they've only got 4 A220s,
yeah, but still,
it's basically their whole airline is being almost crippled because they can't fly them.
Yep.
As a big issue. I mean, I wouldn't have expected that from such a brand new type.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know much about those geared engines, I won't lie.
Yeah.
More of a JT8 type of guy. It interests me a bit with the report on Embraer. Embraer reported a $41 million US loss in the third quarter of 2022, a slight improvement from its 46 million loss in the same period of 2021. So they're not out the woods yet with this whole thing that went south with Boeing.
Not by a long shot.
That's in this third quarter, $41 million loss. I mean, you look at that and think, geez, what's going to happen there? But yeah, there's still a lot of effects being felt there by that merger falling through with Boeing. You forget about that one. That was a done deal. That sorted out buildings and hangar space and manufacturing warehouses, and that just totally fell through. So one hopes, because they're a huge part of the industry.
No, they are massive. I mean, I think there's a lot of African operators that are going deep into the E195, E2 segment. Big orders for them, and
it's the right size.
Yeah, it's the right size, right gauge, everything, and hopefully they iron out these issues. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a lemon.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
I've got an advisory for you, unless you've got a bit more gen you want to chat about.
No, look, one last thing. I just it was put out there 2 days ago. Qantas, Australians, back in the news.
What have they done now?
They're gonna, as of March 2023, cease their flights between Joburg and Perth.
Oh yes.
As well as a whole whack of others, because their infrastructure in Terminal 3 at Perth Airport is making it difficult to deliver the levels of border security and biosecurity screening required to process passengers from some destinations, including South Africa.
They love a little bit of border security, those I say.
When I read that, all I could see was these pedantic Australian customs oaks. Like, no, they don't have the infrastructure to, suss dodgy oaks from SA.
No.
So stopping the route between Joburg and Perth and Jakarta.
Yeah. Sounds a bit third world to me, if you ask me.
No, listen, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I dig the Aussies.
No, I'm joking. Shout out to everyone there, Barry and the likes.
Got lots of mates there, and I'm pretty sure they know where we're coming from.
And you know what, going to be some opportunities for South Africans in Oz.
There's lots already.
There's lots.
I've actually got a couple of mates that are headed that way in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
They've got jobs.
They've got jobs and they're going. So Oz is a real viable option. And some of that flying that these guys are going to do actually sounds pretty cool.
It does. It does. Yeah.
So shout out to the guys there. Good opportunity.
Absolutely. But advisory time.
Okay, advisory time. Like to give a bit of an advisory every now and again on something you see on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Saw a podcast with Rogan podcast, obviously. Big into Rogan again now. I've gone deep.
How could you not?
Yeah. That Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson podcast, I don't know if you saw it with Rogan the other day. Really, really good. But anyway, those are the guys that put together this show on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse.
Oh, yeah?
That's excellent.
I've got to check that out.
Yeah, it's very good. It's basically about the fact that the world's a hell of a lot older than the historians have told us, and they're there to kind of dispute a lot of claims and that. But there's some wonderful footage in some areas that you probably have never thought about or didn't even know existed, and it could just turn out that some of the oldest places in the world, and quite remarkable with the amount of. You got to go and watch it. Won't give away too much, but it really, really excellent. Gives a total different insight into something that you might not have given a lot of thought. And what's quite interesting about it, this Graham Hancock, what he's saying is we all have a right to know where we came from. We don't necessarily have to be told by the historians that this is where you came from. There's new evidence to prove that we're actually a bit older than what was originally thought, and there was some very good technology around at the time that sort of equates to what we have now.
Yeah.
So quite remarkable. And they also talk about, and a lot of the pilots would find this interesting, about some of the new technologies that are coming out. And one of the things was mentioned, Mazda, the car company, they've got some technology about, it's basically an engine that's got no moving parts.
What?
Yeah, it's nuts. I'm not going to try and explain it because I'll come off as
it's a bit of a Muppet.
Yeah, a bit of a Muppet, yeah. So, well worth it, and check that out. I think the guys interested in a bit of tech will find that pretty cool. But nice podcast, different one, because it's three people on the show, and there's if you can watch it on Spotify, watch it because there's a lot of visuals that you need. And well worth it. You'd enjoy it.
I'll definitely check it out. I mean, that's cool. I love the thread on tech because I came across a bit of an article where they're saying how AI tech is starting to become developed, and it will be of great assistance to GA pilots. They're talking about mounting cameras or a type of camera onto GA aircraft which will help identify other traffic and might even be able to see runways and stuff. Very interesting. I'll talk about it a bit later on in maybe one of our other shows, do a bit more research on it, but a fascinating article.
Sounds
especially
cool.
down the tech avenue. As far as advisories go, I got a short one as well. Tom Bilyeu, the Impact Theory podcast.
Yeah, you like his podcast.
I actually enjoy it. The guy's he's got some good content.
Good energy, that guy.
Yeah, he's got a good background and a bit of a interesting pedigree. But his one show here, How to Become Better at Anything. Actually well worth a listen as well. You and I have both recently taken up other interests.
Yeah.
And
what have you taken up, Rick?
you're gonna laugh, Chana.
Not as much as you're gonna laugh at mine.
So a couple of months ago, after having a few toots with my old man, listening to some old school rock, I said to my dad, "Shit, man, I would really dig to be able to play a guitar." So my dad says to me, "Well, go buy a guitar. Learn how to play it."
Because your old man can play
My dad's musical. Yeah, my dad plays the trumpet. He's bloody good at it. And so I was like, shit, Dad, that's actually some sage advice. Huh? So I got this worm in my head and I played around with it a bit. So I went and bought the guitar. Really.
Nice.
So for the last 3 months,
at
about 9 o'clock at night, there I am pissing off my neighbors.
You've been clapping the guitar.
But I love it.
But how are you learning it? How are you going about it?
Well, obviously, there's not enough time in my life right now to go for lessons or anything like that. So YouTube, there's a lot of cool apps out there that you can download and follow, and they teach you. And I'm making a bit of progress.
Yeah.
But YouTube, and there's some podcasts out there about guitar playing and everything. So, yeah.
So what can you play? Achy Breaky Heart?
I'll play something for you very soon. Right now, it's all just things that sound cool in my head, and they don't sound too great to anyone else.
But that's a very cool thing to do. Yeah. Learning a new skill set. I'm trying.
Yeah, so give us
I've got an even worse one. So I've done I'm moving around in my chair a bit today because I am sore as all hell. Because I started doing a bit of jiu-jitsu. And I've been sort of wanting to do it for a while. Yeah. And also same as you is like, just go and do it. So highly embarrassed in the first couple of classes to go and do it there. There was a youngster there, Reese. He's must be 16 or so. He's a black belt, so he was sort of helping me out a bit last night. And man, makes you realize how pathetic and weak you actually are. And I think weak's not even the right word, but maybe soft is the right word. You think you're kind of tough in your own way, but you're actually such a...
Hey, listen, I mean...
that weight is on you, you try to push off of it. But anyway, new skill set and something we spoke about last week together. Stand by for a bit of maneuvering. There might be a little bit more on this whole thing. Ryan and I are quite keen and interested to hear what you think about it, but possibly quite keen as well to sort of document this journey. Ryan on the guitar side of things, me on the jiu-jitsu side of things. It's starting a new skill. Something we know very little about.
Oh yeah,
like zero, but almost taking it as a little bit of a experiment that we quite keen to talk about and follow our progress on. For a couple of reasons. One, I think it could be quite an interesting topic, but two, it's one hell of a way to commit to it because you can't talk about it if you're not doing it.
Exactly.
So it kind of forcing us to continue with it and to see where we get to with it. So possibly another show, Ryan and I, next year.
I think so.
Looking at putting together a totally different show. And don't worry, we'll still smash SAA in there every now and again. But it won't be aviation-based. We're going to try and do it. We haven't worked out a timeline thing, and it's definitely not going to be like this show is. probably a bit shorter and a little bit focused on how you doing, how am I doing, what have you learned, where you going, what's your thought process, and using it as a bit of a learning curve and a bit of hopefully motivation for other people out there that have wanted to do something but just haven't got around to it.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, for me, it was a bit of a personal sort of, I don't know, like idea to jump on this. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think, shit, I would pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
I've never had that inclination until recently, where it was like this little switch that went off in the head. And so, well, try it. But I tell you what, absolutely loving it. And I'm pretty sure you are with the jiu-jitsu as well. So, as we are, naturally, we're not shy of things to talk about. This opens up a whole new avenue of things to talk about. And who knows? Let's see where it goes, man.
Yeah. It won't be under the Bryan Air banner. It will be a Bryan and Ryan thing, but it'll be a different podcast. Don't know how often it'll come out, if we do it once a week or once every second week. And it'll definitely be done over a couple of whiskeys and a cold one. And
no doubt.
Probably be a bit more swearing. But looking forward to that as well.
100%.
But end of today, if you do enjoy the show and you enjoy our content, please share it, give us a review, and most importantly, join us again next week. One last bit of news, though.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, I'll let you do it for next week. Got a bit of a collaboration going on.
Yeah, something we've been working on for quite a while. We've got a very, very, very exciting collaboration coming up next week with World Air News magazine and Arpad Sakal, who's been a guest on our show before. But I think it's going to be one hell of a show.
Yeah.
We sort of intimated on this a couple of weeks ago that there was something exciting coming up, but it's going to be good. A brand new collaboration for us all together with World Air News.
Yeah, we're looking at
a very exciting topic as well.
We're going to do a few more with World Air News as well. It's not going to be the last one. But Arpad's on. Our shows we've done with Arpad have been really successful on both the audio and the video. And he speaks about other options. Basically, if you were flying, you don't necessarily have to go back and fly. You can choose and go and do something else. And he's really good. He's an expert at it. It's what he does as a job. Yeah. So we'll chat to him. And Heidi, I'm sure a lot of aviators know Heidi already from World Air News, a really cool lady. And we're looking at doing a bit more work with her. Going forward, World Air News and the Bryan Air podcast. We're aiming at, and obviously with load shedding, it's just everyone in South Africa knows it's a fucking disaster at the moment. You don't know whether you're coming or going. We're planning on, what did we commit to? 4 o'clock-ish next week, Thursday.
Time. Next Thursday, 24th.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Join us. It'll be on the Bryan Air Facebook page. It'll be on my personal page, your personal page. It's going to be on Heidi's page. It'll be on LinkedIn. And it'll be on YouTube, of course. So join us, throw a question in there, shoot us a comment, or just say hi, whatever you want to do. But it'll be nice to see some, or hear from some of those old, diehard, live
fans
viewers.
of us. Yeah, 100%.
But pal, thanks for today. It was awesome.
Great fun as usual, pal. Take it easy. Have a good one.
See you next week.
100%.
Bye for now.
Ciao.
In this frequency, 28 right, echo, cleared for takeoff. 28 right, echo, cleared for takeoff, runway heading, wind with limit 36. 204, 28 right, echo, line up and wait. 28 right, echo, line up and wait, now at 204. EC40, 103, contact Chicago departure. Good morning. That was 553, uniform, so left heading 250 on another turn. Left heading 250, Sky 553, uniform. Tower runway 34. Runway 3494 for now, stand November short of Echo, and we'll work that out. You can expect the full length for departure. November short of Echo, runway 3494. Skywest 553, uniform, turn left heading 220 and contact Chicago departure. Left heading 220, contact departure, Skywest 553, uniform. Sky 204, flighting 270, 28 right, Echo, cleared for takeoff. 28 right at Echo, cleared for takeoff, heading 270, United 204. Sky 5169.